My wife has turned into a different person and cheated on me. My wife, 30 female, and I, 30 for male, have been married for years. In that time we had 2 kids, and I thought that I had the love of my life and best friend. We had what I thought was a great sex life and talked about everything together. I thought I would be with her until the day I died. We married when we were young, and at the time, all she wanted to do was be a homemaker and mom. She had a couple part-time jobs off and on, but I was consistently the breadwinner. After having a couple kids, she suffered a lot of postpartum depression, and I was too young and inexperienced enough to encourage her to seek professional help. There were years where I would work a 10 to 12-hour day, then come home and make dinner and take care of the kids, and then clean the house on the weekends. Took care of all the laundry and did all the grocery shopping. I was always picking up the pieces while she was trying to heal herself. Around 2019, she finally got help through a therapist and psychologist and was diagnosed bipolar 1. After our second child, she told me that when he started school, she wanted to go into nursing and work her way into being a midwife. I was very supportive, even saying she should start what schooling she can right away. I told her I would happily be the homemaker once her income supplemented mine. She started going to school, getting her CNA certificate, working part-time, and also going to school full-time. I again picked up all the pieces and worked full-time. While being the homemaker, when she was home, she would just want to play games on her PC. Mid-2022, I was offered a huge promotion to move across the country. My wife and I talked about it, and it was just too good to turn down. While talking about this, she decided she wanted to take time off from working and school and focus on helping me and the kids through the transition. She told me that she knows there were years where I was holding everything together and that she just wanted to try to start repaying me for that. We moved at the end of 2022. I was there first and she followed with the kids a month later. Company paid for everything. She didn't even have to pack. The company paid a moving company to take care of everything. Now here is my failing. While I was down here, I did start going on OnlyFans and became addicted, eventually spending about $2,000. She found out while she was traveling to move here and was obviously hurt. We fought for about a month about this. I brushed it off as just porn at first, but eventually profusely apologized. My wife told me to delete it right away and never go back on it. The night she found out, I complied. I deleted it and haven't been on it since. After about a month, my wife seemed over my OnlyFans failing, and we were having a great time exploring and getting to know the new area. She was trying to learn some SQL and Power BI reporting while the kids were in school, saying she wanted a work-from-home job. She had also begun going to a local D&D game every Wednesday night at my encouragement. Side note, for about 3 to 4 years at this point, we had used the talks of swinging as foreplay. We were never super serious about it, but it was used as a turn-on in our sex life. My wife wasn't super into it at first, but eventually loved the idea of it. In late February of this year, while at a game night, my wife met a new man who invited her to a Star Wars tabletop game that happens every Friday. She came home and told me about it and also said that this guy was super hot. I asked if she wanted to fool around with him and she said yeah. I wanted to talk more about it, to try to set ground rules in case anything happened, but she didn't want to talk about it too much. The first Friday came and she hung out with him after. She asked me to make sure I was okay with it, and I said I was. I even encouraged it, but when she was with him, she handed him her phone. And he started snapping me videos and telling me she had a new daddy. I thought I would love it, but I hated every second of it. When she got home, I told her how I felt and how I didn't want her to do it again. She said she was disappointed because she liked it, but said nothing was worth losing me. I asked if she would delete him from Snapchat and quit the game groups, and she agreed instantly. We fought here and there over that weekend and on Sunday. She told me she was really upset that she was losing the gaming events. I agreed that she can go to the games, but asked that she not be alone with this other guy, and she agreed. Over the next months, we fought off and on. My self-confidence was shattered, and I was in need of her to build me up, but she didn't want to. About a month later, on a Wednesday, she left our kids, 10 and 6, at home alone to go to D&D early. I told her she can't do that, and she just said the kids were fine later that night after D&D. She said she wanted to go out for drinks with one of her friends from the group. I said I'd rather she come home, but then she ignored all my texts and calls and didn't come home until 3 a.m. She had her location sharing on, and I saw her sitting in a random parking lot for about an hour at the end of the night when she got home. I was furious at her for ignoring all my texts and calls. She told me she just wanted a night out with friends. The next morning, she told me that she had been seeing the other man for a month and loved him. She told me that she sexted him, hung out with him while the kids were in school and I was at work, and had him in our house within hours. She was telling me that there were much deeper problems in our marriage and that I'd lost my zest for life. She agreed to be done with the game nights and to have no contact with this other guy. I left that weekend to go home and be with family. While gone, she smashed all our glasses and plates and stated she did it instead of hurting herself. She also wanted to go to the gym while the kids were home, and I told her she can't leave them home alone. She responded by saying she was going to go smash more things. When I got home, she said she wanted to split up. I told her I want to work on us, but her mind was made up. About 3 weeks of constantly fighting later, I learned that she opened her own checking account, was applying for jobs, touring apartments, and had her mom put a lawyer on retainer for her. She said we were over. I told her she wins and that I would leave. She thanked me, said she was so sorry for everything she did, and told me she'd try to make sure I see the kids as close to 50% as possible. I asked her to stay away from this other guy as a favor to me so I could keep my dignity, but she insisted none of this was about him. It was a Friday and we sat the kids down, told them. They were devastated and cried for about an hour. After things had calmed down, I packed and left the house. I was going to stay with my cousin about 2 hours away. When I got to my cousin's house, I told her the whole story. She asked me what I wanted and what my gut was telling me to do. I told her I still loved my wife and wanted to fight for our marriage. She told me to do that, so I drove back home and called my wife ahead of time to tell her I needed to get something important to me and then I would leave. I came home and got my wedding ring. I told my wife I loved her and that I will always fight for us. She said nothing. She was cleaning the kitchen, which was unusual. I left to go back to my cousin's house and stop for gas. While I was doing that, my Ring camera went off. I saw my wife move her car into our yard to make room in our driveway, and then she unplugged the Ring cameras. I called my oldest child to find out what was going on at home, and she told me my wife was having friends over to play games. Side note, the other guy runs these games. I came home and no one was there yet from her game group. I came in the house and my wife came racing to the door wearing makeup, which was unusual. When she saw it was me, she became unhappy and asked why I was back. I went to our kids' rooms and asked them to get socks and shoes on and that they were coming with me for the night. My younger child went right to the car, but my older child was confused by everything. My wife refused to let go of my older child and called the police. The police said there isn't anything they can do, but we needed to have a solution for the evening. I suggested me and the kids would stay there and her friends wouldn't come over. My wife agreed. Once the police left, she said she hated me and asked when I was leaving. I told her I wasn't. She took the kids to her room and locked and barricaded the door. I just sat on the couch all night. The next morning, she took the kids to breakfast, and they never came back. I've also been served a summons to appear in court for her accusations of domestic abuse. This week she has called me 6 times, asking to meet with her lawyer and mediate. I've told her I can't until I have representation. She let me see my kids for an hour last night in a food court mall, being supervised by her and her new friends. At the end, I asked if I could take the kids to church this Sunday, and she said no. She then texted me an hour later asking if I would pay for childcare, for after-school care, because she needs a job. I just feel so alone and broken. I know I have big failings in this, but how could she do this to me? Seems like all she wants to do is hurt me.